Hello, everybody. Welcome to another daily dose of the Bible. We are in Genesis, right in the beginning of God's relationship with people. We're learning about Joseph right now. He is a son of Jacob, a descendant of Isaac, who is the son of Abraham. So it leads all back to Abraham's great-great-great-grandson or something. With chapter 37, we're beginning to learn about Joseph's dreams. So Jacob settled in the land of Canaan, where his father had lived as a foreigner. This is the account of Jacob and his family. When Joseph was 17 years old, he often tended his father's flocks. He worked for his half-brothers, the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his other children, because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say any kind word to him. One night Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. "Listen to this dream," he said. "We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly my bundle stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed down before mine." His brothers responded, "So you think you will be our king, do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them. Soon Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. "Listen, I haven't had another dream," he said. "The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down before me." This time he told the dream to his father as well as to his brothers, but his father scolded him. "What kind of dream is that?" he asked. "Will your mother and I be and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you?" But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what these dreams meant. Soon after this, Joseph's brothers went to the pasture to tend their flocks at Shechem. When they had been gone for some time, Jacob said to Joseph, "Your brothers are pasturing the sheep at Shechem. Get ready, and I will send you to them." "I'm ready to go," Joseph replied. "Go and see how your brothers' flock are getting along," Jacob said, "and then come back and bring me a report." So Jacob sent him on his way, and Joseph traveled to Shechem, from their home in the valley of Hebron. When he arrived there, a man in the area noticed him wandering the countryside. "What are you looking for?" he asked. "I'm looking for my brothers," Joseph replied. "Do you know where they are pasturing their sheep?" "Yes," the man told him. "They have moved from here. But I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan and found them there. So, yeah, here he is having these dreams that his brothers, that sheaves of grain and sun, moon, and stars are going to bow down to him. I always wondered why he did have to share that. I felt like that might have been a little bit something to keep to yourself. But he's having these dreams, and they mean something to him, and he knows that it's something kind of important. They're visionary dreams, Sometimes you have a dream that you're like, wow, that must have meant something. But this, must have meant something to him so much that he felt like he should share it. It does, prove back to the end of his story, does make a little more sense, and it's, it does point his brothers back to this time when it comes to the end of the story, which I will not spoil anything, but, that might just be some foreshadowing in dreamland. So he has been sent out to find his brothers, and he is headed to Dothan to find them where they're pasturing their sheep. The next section is called Joseph Sold into Slavery. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. As he approached, they made plans to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. "Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal has eaten him. Then we'll see what has become of his dreams." But when Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. "Let's not kill him," he said. Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our laying a hand on him." Reuben secretly was planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off the beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into a cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. Then, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming toward them. It was a group of Ishmaelite traders, taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain by killing our brother? His blood would just give us a guilty conscience. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelite traders. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." And his brothers agreed. So when the Ishmaelites, who were Midianite traders, came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver, and the traders took him to Egypt. Some time later, Reuben returned to get Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, "The boy is gone. What will I do now?" Then the brothers killed a young goat and dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. Then they sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message, "Look at what we found. Doesn't this robe belong to your son?" Their father recognized it immediately. "Yes," he said, "it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him. Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces." Then Jacob tore his clothes and dressed himself in burlap. He mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "I will go to my grave mourning for my son," he would say, and then he would weep. Meanwhile, the Midianite traders arrived in Egypt, where they sold Joseph to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was the captain of the palace guard. So there's God doing all kinds of things to set up Joseph's future. He's been having these dreams. Now he's been betrayed by his brothers and sold in some kind of crazy evil plot. Poor Reuben thought he was gonna, help him out, and I guess he saved his life. Otherwise, the guys were gonna kill him to start with. And now Joseph is off to be sold to Potiphar and work in Potiphar's house, who is a palace guard who works with the Pharaoh. But God has just done all these neat things to set up the rest of the story, and Joseph's story is one of, it's really sad. His poor dad, the poor boy, his brothers hate him. They've now beat him. Well, maybe they didn't beat him up. Maybe they just threw him down the well. But I picture a couple of punches and knocking him down the well, and then they drug him out and sold him. They ripped his coat up and dipped it in blood. There's all these things that they've done out of jealousy. It's unfortunate that the situation went the way it did, that, they didn't get some family counseling, but I'm not sure what they would do in those days, just crazy things like this, I guess, where they would deal with things in not such a godly manner. But so now Joseph is far away from his family, and sold into slavery, and his brothers have convinced his dad that he is dead. So we will carry on with that story in the next chapter of Genesis. Just shows that God can use horrible circumstances, and turn it around to make great things. And the great things are coming down the road for Joseph. So just have to tune in to the next chapter.